I'm standing up here just because I thought I'd change it up. We can do it slightly differently. So the title of my talk is Sound Constitutional Order, Burke, Curtin, Scruton. And straight away, those of you who read Kirk, and I know that you all do, will know that my title is essentially taken from an essay, a quite famous essay that Kirk wrote. And then I did my own innovative stuff. I know I'm a conservative, I shouldn't do such things. I added the Burke, Kirk and Scruton, so that's my intellectual contribution. Dr. Samuel Johnson said this: people need to be reminded more than they need to be instructed. So that is essentially the heart of my talk, is that it's a reminder. Hopefully, there's absolutely nothing new in this presentation for you, because that is the essence of conservatism. It is. Scruton got asked once, what is a conservative intellectual? Well, it's giving reasons not to have reasons, but also to ensure that the prejudices of the normal person, the everyday person, are actually correct. A prejudice in the Burkean term, prejudgment and all that sort of thing. So, on with the show. There they are, by the way. Isn't that lovely? I got the old cravat. Start with this quotation. The aim of a good constitution is to achieve in society a high degree of political harmony so that order, justice, and freedom may be maintained. Who is that? Russell Kirk. Well done. I knew you knew that. So I'm trying to focus on the unwritten elements, the social norms, culture, conventions, and trying to tie it together with a look at common law and the idea of order. This is the most. And how do we know a constitution is sound? How can we go about doing that? Well, order is the first need of all. It is the most important. And it was interesting in the quotation that I gave you a moment, you noticed the order that I gave it to: order, justice, and freedom. That is explicitly written in that fashion. That formulation comes across over and over again in Kirk's work. It is order is the first need of all, justice, then freedom. So I'm going to try and tie that together. Freedom is the path that we follow. It provides us with purpose and meaning. And this is a great way. We're travelers away by this light, the great light of hope. So I like that's absolutely perfect quotation. Anyone who's stood up here and spoken to you know that the great light of hope is absolutely blinding, and I can't see a thing. What you're going down in there. I'm just assuming you're smiling, but I've got white dots going on. So this provides us with purpose and meaning. Beliefs and laws that require renewal of our understanding. This is the heart of the conservative tradition. This is what we're meant to be doing. It's renewing each generation after the next, renewing our understanding and passing that on again and again and again. Scruton, in his book Conservatism: An Invitation to the Great Tradition, he writes, conservatism is in its most recent adaptation is about champion of Western civilization against its enemies. We learn from reading Kirk's book, The Roots of American Order, that the enemies to civilization is disorder and anarchy. And this ties into Scruton's reasonably famous, he said, all reasonable people can start off with the core premise of conservatism, and that is it's easier to lose good things than to create them. It's actually difficult, and the task of politics is therefore to protect the inherited institutions that we have from unnecessary experimentation. And then Scruton tries to give us his definition, roughly speaking. Essentially, his whole work is a definition of conservatism. Real conservatism is concrete freedom, the freedom that actually can be defined, claimed, granted, not in direct opposite of disobedience, but it's the other side of it. It's not an abstract, unreal freedom like the liberal intelligentsia, but or a childish disobedience to rules or duties. What actually that is an amplification of anarchy. So you can see that in both Kirk and Scruton, that this idea of that order is absolutely pivotal for freedom. But you insert something else before you get there in the I'm going to say equation, I'm going to say sound really abstract, but justice in there. And how can we look at orders? Where do we know where the American or Western civilization comes from? Well, we've got a wonderful framework to look for. Jerusalem, Athens, Rome, London. I know a little bit about London, Philadelphia, that we can look at. So Kirk provides us with this framework that we can look at and understand. Again, renewal of our understanding of where this comes from. Let me just a little bit. Jerusalem, a purposeful moral existence under God. Athens, about soul and order in civil society are linked together. London, Magna Carta, common law, equity before the law, representative government, English language, the thing that I'm trying to communicate to you in, and more. And the founding documents. I think you've got some sort of anniversary coming up, a few days or something, haven't you? Something along those lines. So both Kirk and Scruton say this comes from, fundamentally comes from, you go to the very root, is freedom is rooted in the common law tradition. So let me give you, this is Kirk. Its origins, American personal liberty, perhaps owes more to common law. I put underlining in there, stressed it. Common law than any other single source. Common law is the footing for American law more broadly, rooted in custom and ancient usage. Again, this harmony comes in. The idea of it's about social harmony and security, creating security. Order creates security for you to thrive. It's very interesting that both Kirk and Scruton look back further than Burke when they look about, and their ideas come from right back. We can go back to 1235 to the treatise by Henry de Bracken with his Laws and Customs of England. We can also look a little bit closer to home in the 18th century. Both Kirk and Scruton were influenced by William Blackstone. In his great book, America's British Culture, Kirk says Americans knew their Blackstone more than the English knew their Blackstone. They held it tight, they read it, and they drank at the well of Blackstone, his commentary on the laws of England. So we have a framework we can look at this through, but when someone says order, and you probably already thought about it, you probably think law and order comes in, law and order. Law is one piece of that overall order. We need other things such as traditions, norms, customs, beliefs, and habits that create order. Law is only one piece, but they create the whole. And then we've got Irving Bavitt. You can see the influence of Irving Bavitt about Kirk using the order in one's soul and order in one civil society. And this is where I think this is where Scruton comes in to help to flesh this out a bit, that you've got the virtue of the individual person, but where we how do we get to that order in the Commonwealth? Yeah, we've become individuals, great citizens, we're virtuous now, and we somehow get a virtuous Commonwealth. But that's through interaction with other people, seeing other people as someone else and recognizing their humanity. Promises, like David Hume argues that the promise-keeping contracts all come from a daily interaction with people, and it grows. We create friendships and so on, and civil society groups, and we create conferences like this, golf clubs, baseball. I've just been watching it in the pub, tavern, place of eatery, whatever terminology you fancy using. And drawing on Tocqueville, let me just get, Kirk is influenced by him, of course, and you can see, let me just give you this. Liberty cannot be established without morality, or morality without faith. Faith plays a role, an important role. So, Kirk argues this, that let me quote, those framers must have some understanding of what Edmund Burke called the contract of external society. Many of you have heard it already, today and yesterday, unborn, present, and the dead. And James E. Person Jr. also refers to how influential Burke was at this present time. So how can we analyze the soundness of this? How should we know when we should be panicking that something's wrong with our constitutional order? Well, we've got, again, Kirk provides us a framework, a 4-point framework to go with. I won't go through it all, but very quickly: good constitution, stability, continuity, divided political power, establish permanent arrangements, and accountability. Can we get rid of that person that we think has done a bad job? Can we get rid of them? That was one of the core things with Roger Scruton when he was so against the EU, is that, can we get rid of you? How can we get rid of you if you're not doing a good job? You couldn't.
But we did.
That's my favourite part of the conference. That's the only thing I'm going to tell people. They clapped. It's a Brexit, they clapped. Well, I'm happy. So, about the dead need to play a role in this. The dead need to play a role. They have a role to play. And I like Chesterton's, in his Ethics of Elfland, I love that he called it the democracy of the dead. People look at me when I start telling you about, we need to have the dead in politics. And I don't mean very, very old presidents. So, excuse me. Within democratic choices to take place, we need institutions, and of course, think about it. We do it every day, though, don't we? We always say, what would Aunt Lind say about your new promotion? And they go, oh, she would be so pleased, wouldn't she? And they would go, yeah, she's so proud of me. So we do it all the time. But this order, this soundness, there are threats. And let me go 2 minutes. I love the phrase Kirk referred to, used John Randolph of Roanoke's, the legislative maggot. I love this. And this is where politicians can insert bills, legislation, and that are not for the public good at all. They are for a particular group. They impose an ideology on the people, and it is for private interest for particular groups. And you got Roanoke Randolph Roanoke saying this all back then, Kirk saying it still happens. We can see it when a bill goes through either our parliament or your Congress, or the people putting on their little things. So it's not for the public good. And this has a negative impact on common law, so much so that Kirk says that some statesmen don't even realize it even exists. Common law doesn't exist. But, and, oh, that's me. So there are threats to our constitutional order. It is sound, but we have to renew the culture. Thank you very much.